Welcome to the ASDRP Researcher Interview Series. Today, I'll be talking with Tyler Dee. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's great to be here.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear about that. To start us off, I would love to learn more about how you learned about ASDRP.
Sure. So in the past, I've had computational, I guess, virtual types of research. And, you know, after I've gone through that, I just thought it'd be really great to have more in-person lab experience just because of COVID. It was pretty difficult, but coming out of COVID, it would have been really nice to be able to learn more about the equipment, the in-person procedures, and just learning more about chemistry in general, I guess. And so I was looking around online. I saw ASDRP as a great opportunity. And after my application, I guess here I am today.
Awesome. That's great. What high school do you go to?
I'm currently a rising senior at Dougherty Valley High School in San Ramon.
Awesome. That's great. Um, and who's your advisor this summer?
Yeah, my advisor has been Edward New, the head of organic chemistry.
Nice. So how long have you been researching at ASDRP?
So this is my second semester at ASDRP, so I'd say like around half a year now. Um, I guess it's been pretty interesting. I guess the very first month it was pretty challenging because you have to kind of to learn the ropes. It's a pretty steep learning curve, but once you get past that first learning curve, it's pretty fun and interesting because especially when you conceptually know what you're doing, and then seeing the actual results coming out, it's very I guess rewarding to learn about all that I guess processes that you had to go through and stuff.
Definitely. Definitely. And have you been researching the same topic over both semesters?
No, I've gone through multiple projects. When I first started, I was in this subgroup called total synthesis, which worked towards, I guess, um, I guess like very intense, not intense, but like straight up synthesis of certain chemicals. And then later, I guess in the second semester, I kind of transitioned to this group called antibody drug conjugates, which focus on attaching drugs and conjugating it to a linker and an antibody, so we can target, I guess, cells such as cancer cells. I think cancer cells are actually the most important or the biggest thing we've been focusing on. I guess if were to ask specifically what I'm working on right now, I guess the formal name of the project would be called employing the old nitrobenzyl photocage as a photoreleasable pro-drugging strategy. And so I guess to get more in depth about it, we're currently using this chemical called podophyllotoxin. And the reason why it's so interesting is because it's extremely potent as an anti-cancer, or I guess you could technically say, I guess targeting cells in general, because it's able to stop mitosis from happening. And mitosis is the cell process where cells are able to divide. So obviously, if you stop that, cells can't divide anymore, and you end up killing the cell. Um, and the reason why it's important in research is it failed in clinical trials originally because it was so potent, it would not only kill cancer cells, it would kill the other cells around it. So obviously, you can't really use it straight up. So instead, we've been working on finding a way to use it as a prodrug. And a prodrug is a drug that is inactive until we want to activate it. So how are we going to activate it? So we've been working on podophyllotoxin, and the way we want to activate it is through UV rays. So I think that's really cool because if we get this to work properly, then you could just think about it as like, I guess, directing like UV or like a concentrated amount of UV light towards a specific area, and then the podophyllotoxin be activated in that certain area. So you can have more specific targeting of cancer in that sense.
Wow, what a fascinating area of research. Um, what has been the most exciting thing that you've learned so far this summer through doing that? I mean, I know that the fact that you're able to discover um, new pathways of innovation in cancer research is exciting in and of itself. It's really amazing stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things I've learned about chemistry. I mean, organic chemistry in itself is just very interesting. But I guess the most interesting thing I've learned is, yeah, I guess just podophyllotoxin in general. I mean, I didn't really know too much about it beforehand, but now when I learn about it and I learn about its implications in real world science, it's very cool to just be able to work with it. And even though it's pretty dangerous, I think it's still really cool to be able to, I guess, work with it every single day, and then I guess just experiment with it find different pathways, and it's more or less just trial or error at a certain level. So just being able to use it in different ways is pretty interesting.
Yeah, super fascinating stuff. How do you guys run experiments to learn more about this chemical? Do you have like a petri dish of cells, or like what does it look like in the lab?
Right. So my side of things, we don't really work with I mean, we do, but my side specifically is working with the chemical first and getting the prodrug to be, I guess, made in the first place. I guess the petri dish side of things, that's once we finish and we confirm we have the correct product, and then we'll hand it off and run something called MTT assays, which basically we add it to a cell and then see, I guess, how many cells are able to be destroyed by the drug. But yeah, so the way we do this is, I guess, at the very beginning, when we're first like discussing about how to do this, we have whiteboard sessions where Edward and a bunch of our lab group members will just get in a group and we'll talk about it around a whiteboard, and we'll just draw up pathways and stuff. And then once we have that ready, we just discuss about what's the best possible pathway. We look online with different literature because there's a lot of previous literature that talks about possible pathways we can use. So we try using that too. And at that point, it's just trial and error because you just want to see if it works or not. And then I guess our background knowledge in organic chemistry allows us to kind of see intuitively why something has failed or why something has succeeded. And that's pretty important when we are running these experiments.
Awesome. It sounds like a really cool collaborative environment. How would you describe working with a team here at
Yeah,
ASDRP?
sorry. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Especially like when you're spending so much time in the lab, because in order to, I guess, proceed in science, you do have to commit quite a bit of time in, but that's very rewarding, especially when you're, I guess, working with, you could both argue different people and the same people at the same time, because amount of lab hours you work in, you really get to know your lab members, and being able to succeed or, I guess, fail with the same people over time, you create a really strong team and you bond with a lot of people over there. And having a great team with you is one of the great things you experience at ASDRP.
That's great. That's awesome to hear. So I'm also wondering what has been one of the most rewarding things about your research this summer?
Yeah, so I guess the most rewarding thing so far has been actually producing yield in my experiments. So I guess yield is just actually getting product and a good amount of it. When I first started, I was really just, I guess, doing small parts here and there. But over time, when you really learn more about the experiments, you get to run one like by yourself all the way through. And then even then, I would still fail the experiment sometimes. So you just learn, and eventually, finally, you'll produce yield. And then I guess it's very rewarding when you put so much time, so much effort, and so much learning in the experiment. When you finally get something that you were supposed to get, it is pretty nice having that happen.
What a cool experience. It's so awesome to hear about the independence and the experience that you guys are getting in research, and it'll set you above in the future if you choose to continue, and that's really cool. Where would you like to see this research go next?
Yeah, so I guess antibody drug conjugates in general. I guess I just want us to be able to explore more pathways in anti-drug conjugates. Now, so podophyllotoxin is not the only drug we've been using. We've been using other drugs like SN38, or I guess farther back was MMAE. But I guess the big picture here is to be able to explore more variety of drug conjugates. And then I guess the ultimate goal is to stop cancer and find a effective and efficient way of preventing it from future patients and stopping it.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really amazing. That's a good future goal. As you got to experiment with other projects in the past, are there any projects that you would like to look at in the future if you were to continue at ASDRP?
Yeah, so I guess that kind of revolves back to the answer I had earlier, where I really would like to still continue these anti-drug conjugates. I mean, this is the subgroup I've mainly been working in because I've been really interested in these type of things. And I guess a project that would still need more time to progress in would be, I would say SN38. We are still working on that one. We still have to do a little bit more of, I guess, tinkering to the pathway. So if I could keep working on that one, I think that would be pretty cool in the future.
That's awesome. And then you can stick with the project and like really become an expert in that particular thing. That's really cool. The final question I'd like to ask you today is, what advice would you give to future researchers looking to join ASDRP?
Yeah, so I think the biggest takeaway from ASDRP and advice I'll give is to just be dedicated and choose something you're passionate towards. As I said before, it is quite a bit of time to put in, but obviously that time is well put, and doing something that you're really passionate about will make that a lot easier to do. And the best science is something you are dedicated towards, because results are definitely correlated to time, and they're definitely correlated to the amount of effort you put in. So I just think the best advice, yes, is to choose something you really want to, make a difference in.
Awesome. That's excellent advice. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we end the interview? Any stories or any other advice you'd like to share?
I think, okay, so when I was, I guess, like sort of new to ASDRP, I remember running a reaction and with two other of my friends, and we kind of screwed up where we left the hot plate on overnight, and Edward had to come in like in the middle of the night and spend like a couple hours cleaning up our reaction. We ended up burning it, and it was pretty dangerous, especially the chemical we were using. So I guess that's a good life lesson to really be rigorous, like very rigorous in all your reactions, because you never know what could happen. Yeah, because the next day I ended up having to come in. I had a long meeting with Edward about this and about the safety and having to clean up the lab after as punishment. But I guess I think it was a pretty funny experience. I have to admit I was a little scared when it first happened, because I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. But yeah, I just think that kind of like made me open my eyes about how rigorous and how easy it is to screw up a reaction, and I guess jeopardize the safety of other people. So you have to really make sure you are careful about the reagents you're using and how you use them.
Definitely. And that's like a definitely very important topic to share about as well, because the safety procedures in the lab, I know are very rigorous, but accidents can happen. And so it's definitely good to keep those things in mind. And I'm glad you learned the lesson without getting hurt, because that's what's important. But thank you so much for talking with me today and sharing about all of your experiences and everything that you've learned here so far. And I hope the rest of your research this summer and in the future goes well, and best of luck in everything that you do.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.